Hi, this is Ashlyn, and I have started a true crime YouTube channel where I'll be talking about true crimes that have been on my mind or that I find interesting. I am going to start doing a series where I talk about a serial killer from each state, and today we'll be talking about Henry Wallace his murders took place in Charlotte, North Carolina, but he is from Barnwell, South Carolina. So let's go ahead and let me pull my hair back and let's dive right in. Wallace was born on November 4th, 1965. It said that his mother was a very harsh punishments to him. Even the smallest mistake, she would flip out and get very upset over that small mistake with him. He did attend Barnwell High School, where he was elected student council. He was also said that he was also a cheerleader, and that is when he graduated in 83, and he ended up marrying his sweetheart right out of high school, and then he joined the Navy. Now, when he joined the Navy, there's not much said about how he did or how it was, like whether he had a good time in, or if he just got in a lot of trouble. It's not much said about that. He did start to get into some drugs, and he was honorably discharged from the Navy later on. Now, when he started to do drugs and he was discharged from the Navy, let's see here. Sorry, sipping my coffee. When he was discharged, he was in Washington, and that's when Wallace started doing crack cocaine and other several drugs. Wallace took part in a lot of burglaries in the area, and he was arrested. His first arrest was in January of 88. Alrighty, so in 88, in January, when Wallace was arrested for breaking into a hardware store, that was his first arrest. Just kind of petty crimes at that point. He wasn't really dabbling into, I would say, violent crimes. That was pretty much it. And then June of 88, that's when he decided he was going to plead guilty to second-degree burglary for breaking into that hardware store. Now, Wallace never showed up for his mandatory meetings. Like, he was put on 2 years probation. Forgot to say that. And he had to show up with his parole officer for meetings that were mandatory. And for whatever reason, when he didn't show up, they just wrote it off as, oh well, he's just not here. And although I find that kind of crazy, because, like, I thought you could get in a lot of trouble. Like, isn't that, like, breaking probation? And I don't know. I just thought you could get in trouble and you would go back to jail for that. So, after that, after he pled guilty and got 2 years probation, Wallace, and he never showed up for his meetings, March 8th of 1990 was when he committed his first murder. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because I'm uncomfortable. Sorry. He murdered 18-year-old Tashonda Bethel, and I hope I'm saying that correct, and if I'm not, I am not trying to be disrespectful. I'm really bad at names, so I really hope that I said it right, and if I didn't, I'm sorry. He dumped her body in a lake in his hometown, and her body was found weeks later, and he was questioned but never charged in the murder of Tashonda. Somehow he got away with that murder, and it was like he was fine. This foundation, I think I've I've gotten tanner. It's not working. I look like Casper. Anyways, let's move forward. So that was his first murder. He is now dabbling into the crazy stuff. Like, he went from burglaries to... Alrighty, so yeah, Wallace was just dabbling into violent crimes now. It went from petty theft to, alright, I'm gonna murder people. He's like, he's crazy. And somehow he was not charged for the murder of this girl, Tashonda, and that's horrible. 18 years old, life taken away before you really even get it started. And he just discarded her in a lake. Like, whatever. Like, okay. Yeah. And then he was also questioned in the attempt rape of a 16-year-old girl in Barnwell, South Carolina. Now, it doesn't have her name out there, I'm assuming because she's a minor. So I didn't want to look into it much because I'm sure she doesn't want to be associated with this man. I mean, Henry Wallace, he's not a good guy. He's crazy. He tried to rape a 16-year-old girl. And by this time, he's like, man's like in his late 20s. Even if he wasn't, he tried to rape somebody, and that's sickening. But we're gonna fast forward. His marriage ultimately did fall apart, like I said, and then he was fired from his job at the chemical operator for Sandoz Chemical Company. I think I said that wrong, probably did. Like I said, I'm really bad at names, but yeah. Now we're gonna skip from 1990 to 1991. In February, he broke into the radio station. Oh yeah, I forgot to say this. He did, before he joined the Navy, he did work at a radio station previous to joining the Navy, and he went back in 91 of February and broke in and stole equipment and sold that for money for drugs. Now, November of 91, he moves to Charlotte, North Carolina, and this is really when he, like, his murders take place. Like, he's full on ready to kill people. Yeah. Like, buckle up, Buttercup, because we're getting into it. Also, trigger warning, because this is where it really gets bad. Like, obviously, the death of the 18-year-old and the attempted rape of the 16-year-old girl. Horrible. Not saying it's not. I'm just saying I'm going to go into detail on some of these. And if you don't want to hear the detail of murders, skip ahead or just don't watch this one. Because it's not the greatest. Alrighty. So, May of 92, a year later, he picked up a 33-year-old, he picked up a 33-year-old Sharon Nance. She was a prostitute and a drug dealer. And when Sharon demanded payment for her services, Wallace, he lost it. And he beat her to death. Like, she gave you her services, man. Like, everybody knows if you're going to go be with a prostitute, you kind of got to pay them. Just saying. But, whatever. Not saying go be with a prostitute. I'm not saying that. But, yes, he beat her to death and dumped her body on a railroad track where she was later found. Alright, June of 92. He rapes and strangles Caroline Love, a 20-year-old, at her apartment, and then dumped her body in the wooded area. And Love was friends. This is the crazy part. I mean, the whole thing's crazy, but Love was friends with Wallace's then girlfriend. Like, he went and raped and strangled his girlfriend's friend. I just can't comprehend that. Yeah. And also, Caroline Love was also his girlfriend's roommate. So, there's that. She was also a college student. Alright. Now, February of 93, Wallace rapes and strangles a 20-year-old Shauna Hawk at her home. He later went to her funeral. Like, this man went to her funeral. Like, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't comprehend it, but I know that people say a lot of serial killers, or killers in general, they'll insert themselves into situations, you know, that they kind of caused. So yeah, he went to her funeral. He actually went to a lot of his victims' funerals, and you'll hear about that more. Wallace was Hawk's supervisor at the Taco Bell that Wallace managed. I forgot to mention that too. Sorry. And so yeah, he literally it was like a power play. Like, he was her supervisor and he had control of her, kind of, sort of, like, at work. And I just feel like it was a power play to him. Like, he has control over her at work, so he's going to have control over her everywhere. That's kind of how I felt like that went, honestly. Yeah. And then March of 93, Hawk's mother, Dee Sumner, that's her mother's name, and her godmother, Judy Williams, started a foundation and it's called Mothers of Murdered Offspring, and that was in March of 93. Now, June 22nd of 93, Wallace rapes and strangles another girl. And it was his Taco Bell employee. Like, this man is using his power against these women, and it's sickening. Sickening that that anybody would kill anybody and rape them or strangle them, but it's sickening that he's using, like, his power to do that. Yeah. I just can't believe it. Her name was Audrey Spain, and she was 24 years old, and her body was found June 25th, my bad, that same year. Now, August 10th of 93, Wallace rapes and strangles Veronica M. Jumper, a 21-year-old woman, and she was friends with his sister. Like, when I tried to find reports on his sister, it not much came up, like, at all. Like, I couldn't find anything. Like, his younger life, it never talked about his sister, and then she was in there. She was in the story. So I tried to find more on that, but yeah, apparently this man has a sister, and he rapes his sister's best friend, Valencia. That's her name. I'm so sorry, not Veronica. Valencia M. Jumper. So sorry. He also attended her funeral as well, because he has a pattern, guys. He's like, I'm gonna kill them, and then I'm gonna show up to their funeral like I didn't just kill them. Suspicious. Anyways, alrighty. And 1 month later, September 14th of 83, Wallace went to the apartment of 20-year-old Michelle Stinson. I think that's how you pronounce her name. A single mother of 2 small boys, and the boys' ages were 1-year-old and 3-year-olds. And he raped and then later strangled her and stabbed her in the chest. Oh God, sorry. He later stabbed her in the chest 38 times in front of her oldest son. So in front of her 3-year-old, he stabbed the 3-year-old's mother to death in front of him. Sick. October of 93, Wallace, his only child, was born, and there's not much on that, but I mean, if I was Wallace's baby mama, I probably wouldn't come out either. So, no hard feelings there. No. Yeah, no one would ever know I was associated with this man. Anyways, February 4th, 94, Wallace is arrested for shoplifting, and yet the cops still have no connection with him and the murders, even though this man has killed, what, 4 or 5 women, all strangled, all raped. There's no connection, and it's all happening in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he's connected to all of them. He's attended their funerals. Like, the cops literally just said, I don't care. I'm not looking into it. That's literally what you had to say. It's negligence. Negligence. February 20th of 94, Wallace rapes and strangles Vanessa Little Mac, 25 years old. Mac also had 2 young daughters at home, age 7 and 4 months old at the time. Horrible to know these kids are growing up without their mothers, just like the last victim. I mean, it's horrible. Goodness. All right. Wallace, and March 8th of 94, Wallace robbed and raped and strangled 24-year-old Betty Jean. This is a name I'm going to have trouble with. Beckham, I think, a day after her birthday. Oh, she had only lived in Charlotte, North Carolina for 6 months with her 3-year-old daughter. So yet again, he's killing another single mother. Yeah. March 8th of 94, Barnice Woods was working, and Wallace knew this because they worked at the same Taco Bell. So Wallace decided he wanted to kill somebody. He wanted a little razzle dazzle in his life. So he goes over to Barnice Woods' house, and I'm going to put a trigger warning in front of this because I'm going to describe the strangulation of a child. But he goes over to Brandy Henderson. She's 18 years old. He rapes Brandy while she held her infant son in her arms, and he then later strangled her and strangled her son or daughter. I couldn't find out what the child's gender was. Thankfully, by some miracle, when he strangled this infant survived. Thank God. Yeah, so thankfully that his youngest victim, an infant, survived the strangulation. And now we're going to get into the last 2 murders that Wallace committed. And, well, the last murder, sorry, not last 2, it's one more. March 12th of 94, Wallace raped and strangled Deborah Ann Slaughter, 35 years old. She was a mother of an 18-year-old son. Wallace stabbed her some 38 times in the stomach and chest. And I saw reports where he had also stabbed another lady around the same amount of times. But then in other reports, it said he only stabbed Deborah Ann Slaughter. So I'm just going to put both of those out there. And y'all can let me know if I'm wrong. Or if maybe it was just one or if it was both. I don't know. I tried to figure out because there was multiple things where it was like, no, it was just Deborah. No, it was Deborah and this other lady. And I was like, okay. So I couldn't really get like definite answers. March 13th of 94, the next day, Wallace is finally arrested. After 12 hours, he confesses to all 10 murders. He then confesses to the 11th murder before moving to Charlotte, North Carolina, and that is the very first murder that we talked about. The one he was questioned for, and no one ever had any answers on whether he actually murdered her, which I think it's all pretty evident he did. Now, he started his killings in 91, I think is what it was. So you're telling me this man was able to kill 10 women in the span of like 3-4 years. Like, no one ever thought to go, hey, Wallace, how are you connected to so many murders but not be the murderer? Well, let's get into it. One of his victims, he actually burned her her apartment. And the coroner said, oh, she died by fire. But then it later came out that no, she didn't. She died by strangulation just like the others. So they didn't even know that she was a part of this thing when it first came out. Because the cops, I'm telling you, they had to have just said, screw it. I don't care. I don't care that this young lady was murdered. And I do want to fully know. I'll have to blend that out. I do want to note that all these women were young, beautiful black women. They were single moms. Some weren't even moms, but some were single moms. Some were in college. Some had their whole lives ahead. I mean, they all had their whole lives ahead of them. And then the ones he killed in front of their, the single moms he killed them in front of their children. Like it's an everyday thing. Like he decided one day this was going to be his life. Death row. We're going to talk about death row. January 29th, 2 years after being arrested, he was sentenced to 9 death sentences. So he was going to be in jail a long time. Which, good. I mean, you killed 11 people in the most gruesome ways. Not saying if you don't kill someone in a very gruesome way, you're good. You don't have to go to jail. No, it's just, damn. Like you really raped and strangled someone that was holding their infant son. That's nasty. Like you really need some help. Anyways, following his sentence, Wallace did make a statement to the victims' families where he said, and I'm going to read it because I want to get the quote right. He said, none of these women, none of your daughters, mothers, sisters, or family members deserve what they got. They did nothing to me that warrant their deaths. That's what Wallace said. Wallace in June 5th of 98, so a couple years later, while he's on death row, Wallace does marry a former prison nurse, Rebecca Torres, next to his execution chamber. So romantic. Where he was sentenced to die. It's romantic. I've always pictured myself getting married next to death row. Crazy. Since 97, Wallace has been appealing to the courts to overturn the death sentences, saying he was coerced while being interrogated for 12 hours, and his constitutional rights were violated in the process. The courts has since upheld their death sentence in 2000. So, from 97 to 2000, he was trying to get out, and they were like, no, you're staying. So that's where he sits. He has not been executed. Wallace is still on death row, married to the love of his life, Rebecca. Rebecca, you need to get better people. You married a man that raped and strangled 11 women. You nasty. Anyways, we're going to move on. So now we're going to get into the rumors. Now, the black community did not like the fact or how the police handled this case. And neither do I. We need to take a moment and realize, how did the cops not make a connection? How do you have 10 murders in your city and you're like, they're not connected? Like, excuse me? Excuse you? Huh? Now, I did look up this case and I went through it, and even when the WBTV, a news program out of Charlotte, went and interviewed one of the detectives, he I mean, they were asking him, they were grilling him, thankfully, like, about the murders. Like, man, like, how did you not know? Like, what's going on? Like, how did you not make a connection? I mean, they had the autopsy reports. They came ready. And I mean, when I say they came ready, they came ready. They had the autopsy reports. They were asking him questions. And he, like, they were like, well, they were all strangled. And he was like, yes. Like, they made him feel stupid. Thankfully, they did that because he should feel stupid. Do y'all not realize that they could have got this man off the street after the first murder if they'd have just done their job? But no, he was a suspect. And the black community thinks that it was because of racist behavior. Do I think they're wrong? No. I think that they're right. I think the cops were like, whatever. Because there is a quote of one cop saying, the girls, the victims are fast girls who hang out a lot. Huh? You think a single mother of two is fast and ready to hang out a lot? We're tired. Okay, oh, I'm not a single mom. I'm just saying I'm a mom of two and I'm still tired. I couldn't imagine doing it on my own. But yeah, these women were the victims. The victims. Like, their families are going to hear you saying this, sir. Like, that you should just keep to yourself if that's how you feel. But yeah, he described them as fast girls who hang out a lot. So, congratulations on getting a dickhead award. But, oh shit. But anyways, yes, that's basically what happened. People have talked about how the police didn't care because they viewed the black women as being fast girls who hang out a lot. They said it was racist behavior, that the cops didn't take it seriously. And then other people said that can't be possibly true because Henry Wallace himself was a black man. Page turn. He is currently waiting for his execution at Central Prison in Raleigh, North Carolina. Now, I want to get into some things that I noticed because I watched some documentaries on this case. And I'm pissed. And I'm not even the victim's family. Like, I am hella pissed. They let these poor women down. Like, their families, they let them down. They didn't care. They were just like, hey, these girls are getting murdered. Yeah, man, I know, it's cool. Like, just because someone's not your color does not mean you get to say, okay, well, they're not worthy. Like, that's some racist shit right there. To not take a case seriously. And for what reason? These were humans. Horrible people to think that. Because you know they had to think that to not take this case seriously. But whatever. Let's move on into some more points that I saw. And that came to my mind. Let's see here. Police failed the 10 black young women and didn't put the fact that Wallace was connected to all of them. Like, I thought about that. It was either his girlfriend that was friends with all them, or it was he himself that worked with them. And they were just like, whatever. It's cool. He wouldn't do that. He just does drugs. Like, okay, people on drugs can do some bad things too, okay? Like, not saying that just because you're on drugs means you'll never do anything bad, but I mean, come on. Like, get it together, cops. I mean, he strangled all but 2 of his victims. And, I mean, he attended all their funerals. I mean, can you, one thing, how is so many Taco Bell employees gonna be murdered and people are just like, whatever. He murdered like 4 of them. They were either, you know, I mean, like I said, he was using some as power plays, I think. I mean, you're telling me this man can murder a bunch of Taco Bell employees and the cops are just gonna be like, well, it's normal. Normal? Y'all a bunch of crazy assholes if y'all say this is normal. This is absolutely not normal. Y'all are crazy. Absolutely 110% crazy. I just can't wrap my head around the fact that many Taco Bell employees went missing and people are just like, it's okay. It's okay. It's all good. Now, was this a drug-influenced killing spree? I mean, he was each murder taking valuables, selling them for, you know, money, for drugs. I mean, he was either giving the objects and they were giving him drugs, or he was pawning them off and getting money and then going and buying crack cocaine. So, could he just... Was it, like... I mean, he seemed kind of remorseful with his statement, but at the same time, you killed so many people, sir. Like, you definitely need to spend some time in jail. And, I mean... Maybe it was a drug-influenced... drug-fueled killing spree. Maybe. I don't know. I definitely think cops should have been aware that there was some type of murder spree going on and not just like, wow, we have 7 victims so far. They're all strangled and raped? Yeah. That can't be connected. Some of them were at the same apartment complex. Like, it was not same apartment complex, but same vicinity, I mean. Okay. You're right. That's so not connected. Anyways. The cops also did say that there was no similarities in any of these cases. But when they were going about and the WBTV was doing the interview with the detectives, he was like, but they were strangled. And he was like, well, there was a lot of strangulations at that time. Yeah. So I'm going to give you a little facts. In 91, in Charlotte, North Carolina, they did a poll, basically, where it was only said that 1% of deaths at that time were caused by strangulations. So, yeah, it's not like he said. He said that over, like, 80% of, you know, deaths are strangulation. Something's not adding up here, sir. It's not adding up. And so I found that kind of suspicious. I just feel like they're trying to basically cover their own ass for being negligent and not taking their job serious. Because I think if they took it serious, these people would have been found. He would have been found. And a lot of innocent lives would not have been taken away. I think these detectives and these cops that were on the case should be held responsible in some way. Like, they would not have been... Some of these women wouldn't have died if these cops had only did their job. Like, is it really that hard? I've been to Charlotte many times. It is not that... It's not a... I mean, it's okay. Okay, it is big. But it's not like you can't... It's not like you're sitting there going... Oh, there's so many people here. You know, this is normal. It's not normal. Charlotte, although it's not the safest place, also isn't the worst place either. And so, I don't really believe that. I think they're just covering their own ass at this point. They're like, okay. I mean, the coroner did get the autopsy wrong. He said the one lady that was set on fire was killed by fire. No, she was dead by strangulation and then set on fire. Like, they got that wrong. And that was also talked in the WBTV interview about how he got that wrong. I just don't get how you get that wrong. How they find out if people have died by fire is if there is smoke in their lungs. If she was dead beforehand, there would not be any smoke in her lungs. I don't see how you get that wrong. There literally would be smoke in her lungs if she was killed, like if the fire killed her. I'm like, any firefighter can tell you that. My dad's a firefighter. I know, I'm not dumb. Like, anybody, you mean, you could look it up too. Anybody would know. I mean, okay. And so he got that wrong, and that was Dr. Michael Sanders, something like that. But he also did put in the autopsy report some things that even a forensic pathologist said that should have been red flags to detectives. Like, bing, 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 we got a serial killer here. But he said that he thinks it's due to negligence. The forensic pathologist that is not on the case even said it was negligence. He said he doesn't want to say that they're incompetent or anything like that, but it was definitely negligence. Because it had to have been. So yes, that was the case of Henry Wallace. Was it a drug-fueled killing spree? Did he kill these women just to get their valuables so they could sell so he could sell them for money for crack cocaine and various other drugs? Or is he just a psychopath? And did the police, were they negligent? I think hell fucking yeah they were. There were so many similarities. They still try to cover their butt to these days. Charlotte Police Department, you need to do better. These women lost their lives, and y'all could have cut that out a long time ago. I mean, there's other retired police officers from all over that even say that y'all were negligent. Or there's just nothing I can say that makes this case any better. This man was either a co-worker, it was his girlfriend's friends, roommates, his colleagues. He killed them, went to their funeral, and just because there was no sign of any break-ins, which is, they said, weird, and there was never, there's 80% strangulation rate in North Carolina. Bullshit, I looked it up. It's less than like 1 or 2%. Wrong. Y'all just need to do better. Take things seriously. Don't let racist behavior get in the way of an investigation. For one, you shouldn't be racist to begin with. Secondly, if you are, do better. That's all I gotta say. But yes, I do think the Charlotte Police Department should take responsibility and not try to sit back and cover your own ass and say, we did everything we could. There's no similarities. They were all raped, strangled, things were stolen. There was never any sign of break-in because he was a friend or colleague. That's all I got. Because I could just keep going on and on about how the police did very, very shitty investigation and cost the lives of 10 women in Charlotte, North Carolina. So, do better, Charlotte Police Department. Stop being racist. If you see something happen, stop it. Well, this is today's look. thank you for coming. I will be doing a serial killer from every state. So if you're interested in serial killers or spooky stuff, and you like makeup, come over here. This is where I do both. So I hope you all have a beautiful, wonderful day. And if you want to see any more, I'm probably going to be dropping these on, I do Menacing Mondays. So I'll probably drop these on Friday. So you'll have one at the beginning and the end of the week. But yeah, today's case. But yeah, today's case was a doozy. So let's see how next week's case gonna go. Bye.